Learning how to be alone and not feel lonely is a skill very few people possess. And more people need to learn this skill. It's more important than anything you will learn in school, and it's close to being as important as knowing how to breathe. Why? Because you, just like I, will one day stop breathing. That's right, we're all gonna die. And here's the thing, you're going to die by yourself. You were born by yourself and you die by yourself. There is no in between, which means learning how to be by yourself and enjoy the process of being by yourself, because you will spend most of your life by yourself, is one of the most significant things you can do in this short lifetime. Now, let's be honest, most people hate themselves. Let's not be naive. You need a lot of good things going on in your life to actually not hate yourself. You need money, external validation, success, intellectual capabilities, purpose, and so many more things that most humans don't get, which makes us hate ourselves, even if we don't admit it. And the way we try to stop that hating is the most idiotic, absurd way to make us feel like our lives have meaning. We try to incorporate other people who will also die by themselves into our lives and try to make it seem like we need them. Not that they are acquaintances, but we need them in order for our lives to be meaningful. We need to care about their struggles and heartbreaks and new jobs and actually show them we're happy for them, when in reality all it does is make us hate ourselves even more. That is the question of this debate. Can life be more meaningful without friends? And if we show you that you don't need friends for life to be meaningful, we win this debate. We have three main arguments. Our first argument: thinking that your life has less purpose because you don't have friends only leads to worse mental health issues and trades off with your ability to find your own purpose. It's not that humans aren't social creatures. We are. It's that we put too much emphasis on some of the social interactions we have. Think about how pointless or empty your interactions are with your friends. Either you guys are getting drunk or going out to eat at some restaurant or liking each other's Instagram posts. How do any of these things add value to your life? I'm not saying friends can't be a cool thing. I'm just saying that when you stop worrying about these mediocre social interactions, your life starts to have more purpose. A study of 4,300 typically developed adults from Demir and Davidson in 2013 stated that friendships are deemed important for happiness, but even more important are having basic needs met and feeling competent that one can meet their own needs. Basic needs satisfaction and competent satisfaction are much more important for determining happiness than the number of friends or even the quality of friendships. People tend to be happier if they feel they are competent in doing what they need to do and that they are successfully meeting their basic needs, not having mediocre social interactions. Our second argument: greatness comes from isolation. Here's an argument that is something I think most people who've ever done anything great can relate to. You need to be alone. I'm not saying other people don't help in your process of achieving success, but a lot of times you have to get rid of the noise, and the problem is your friends are playing the music way too loud. I remember my junior year of high school, I decided I wanted to be one of the best debaters in the country. So I quite literally cut off all of the losers, and yes, I mean losers, the kids who would do nothing other than smoke weed and try to be popular in school, out of my life. They made fun of me, called me a nerd for going to debate practice, and I ended up becoming a national champion. The year before, I had won 2 out of 15 debate rounds the whole year. The ability for me to go from nothing to something was contingent upon getting the distractions out of my life, because those distractions, friends, added no value to my life. And this debate is a debate about if your life could be more meaningful without friends. And being a national champion and having tons of opportunities open up for me definitely added more meaning. Now, David may get up in the next speech and say, what does this meaning matter if you're not sharing it with anyone, sharing the joy with your friends? And I have 2 really easy responses. 1, I shared the joy with myself and I felt purpose from becoming a champion, and I didn't need any friends to feel good about that. And 2, I shared it with my family, which goes to my third and final argument. Focusing less on friends strengthens the bond you have with your family. Would your friends take a bullet for you? Sorry to break it to you, 99% won't. But your mom would, your dad would, and your sister may even do that. Your family is the closest thing to you, and above, I mentioned that you die by yourself, but the 1 or 2 people that might be next to you on your deathbed are probably related by blood, not by friendship. The amount of time and effort it takes to sustain relationships with friends is mentally draining. It's annoying. You always have to text them, always have to call them, and if you don't talk for months, you guys better be really good friends, because you will likely fall into a cycle of never catching up. Think back to college or high school. How many friends do you still have? I have maybe 3 friends out of thousands of people I interacted with, because those relationships are hard to maintain, and the burden of keeping them up is not worth it. But still got my mom, still got my dad, still got my sister, and in fact, I need to spend more time focusing on them and my cousins and my grandparents, because these are the people that would actually take a bullet for me. Going to get wasted with your friends is just wasting the precious time you have with your family. And those relationships will always matter more, always add value to your life which is why you don't need friends to have a meaningful life.
What's a friend?
A useless, pointless addition to your life.
All friends are useless, pointless additions to
I mean,
your life.
based upon the arguments we've made, they pretty much add zero value to anything you're trying to do that's meaningful.
Oh.
Especially if you're trying to do something ambitious or great. They're just distractions, just noise. People that you're going to forget about in a couple of years. But your family, on the other hand, they're pretty important people.
That certainly makes me feel good. As somebody that thought I was your friend. All right, let's talk about this. People are going to die by themselves.
We'll be friends after the debate, but for the debate,
No,
we're
we
not
won't.
friends
No, we
anymore.
won't. I'm pointless and useless, and so is anybody else.
He's just trying to emotionally manipulate you guys.
You told everybody that they were going to die by themselves, and that people that smoke weed are losers.
I mean, those kids in high school were, but do you have a question?
I do, about the people that are going to die by themselves thing,
Okay,
right?
yes.
So your argument is that people are going to die by themselves, so they need to spend their entire life getting ready to die?
No.
How is that meaningful?
How did that was not the intention.
You were like, you're going to die by yourself, which is why.
Argument
read the sentence where that came from.
The argument is because you're going to die by yourself, you need to enjoy the process of being alone, because you're born alone and you die alone. That process is what most people can't deal with, which is why they get loser friends.
Well, yeah, your argument seems to be that because we're going to die alone, we need to prepare to live a life that's alone.
Well, yeah, because all of us are alone in our lives. No matter if we like it or not, we're spending most of the day by ourselves.
Cool. So I'm sorry. What does this die by yourself thing have to do with it?
Well, the argument is, I guess that's more rhetorical. You're born alone, you die alone, which hypercharges the argument that most of your life you're spending alone and not with other people.
So the fact that you die alone means that most of your life is spent alone.
Well, no, that's just a rhetorical spin on
I know.
you are alone for no. The logic is you're alone for most of your life.
All right, let's talk about cutting off the losers for a second. Yep. I know your friends were losers. Why is everyone's friend a loser?
So this is in the context of doing something great. Usually all friends become losers if you're trying to do something great, because they're not usually trying to do something as great as you, which means you need to cut out. You need to cut out the noise. That's the argument.
You ruined your life.
If you're trying to do something ambitious, 99% of the people you're hanging around probably aren't.
So there's not a real impact to any of this, but you do have a certain a point at the top that's like it creates mental health stress. I just didn't get the argument.
What do you mean there's no impact to that? So the mental health argument is that if you're sad that you can't make more friends, you worry more about trying to make friends, or you feel socially introverted or isolated, which means you feel worse about yourself, versus recognizing that not having friends is actually a super advantage to your well-being.
Okay,
that was a psychology study.
How do people get ready to live a life that's alone? How do you do that?
So our argument was, A, you focus on the positive effects of isolation. B, you recognize the negative effects of having social interactions with friends.
But if you've already conceded that we're social creatures, my question is, how do we prepare to live a life?
So that was our entire argument in the Davidson study. Social interactions matter, but they're not necessary for happiness, which was the poll of 4,300 adults. So, you need to have your basic needs met. You need to have your trajectories of your life in order, your purpose in order, not focus on social.
I get this.
To get drunk.
I get this. I guess my question is, do you need to... So, you seem to have created an argument that says the chances of you being able to succeed is better if you keep people that are, quote-unquote, losers or your friends off?
Yes, if you cut out the noise.
What evidence is there that says that, the most successful individuals on Earth have cut off their friends?
Mamba mentality, rest in peace Kobe Bryant. Anyone who did anything great had to spend...
You think Kobe had no friends?
No, but the argument is when Kobe was becoming an amazing basketball player, he's quoted in interviews, 18 hours in the gym. You're not spending 18 hours getting drunk with friends.
He had a team!
And then,
he had a whole team of people.
Yeah, and a lot of the times he clashed with those teammates because they weren't on the same energy as him, i.e. Shaq, so he had to do his own thing.
Got it. Today, I draw inspiration from a language I don't even speak. A French YouTuber named Willem plays a social psychology professor named Guillaume de Thalès, who teaches a class colloquially called Comment sortir de la friend zone, or how to get out of the friend zone. In one episode, a student challenges his views, blames him for destroying her genuine friendship, and is quickly taught that she never had one in the beginning. The episode ends with him walking her through a live situation where she reverses her mistakes, not to end up with the friendship that she had before, but to end up with a new and genuine friendship. The show moves so fast that it's hard to keep track of all the twists and turns, but the most constant factor is that true friendship creates meaning. Not a TV sitcom friendship or the hit you up once a year type of friend, but the ones you hold so dear that the label of friends almost doesn't seem strong enough. Those friends are priceless. And so I negate, resolved. Life can become more meaningful without friends than with them. When talking about life and meaning, it's super easy to get caught up in a bunch of highfalutin BS from people that talk so wild that you would wonder how long they've truly been alone. And we're going to simplify that in order to make it easier. This is not a debate about some abstract definition of meaning, but it's rather just about whether or not the process of friendship is good. I will defend the highs and lows of friendships and the small trade-offs that happen. In the same way, I won't ask Amit to have to defend complete isolation, even though it would be absolutely hilarious to see you try to defend like solitary good. But this debate is solely about pleasure. And the reason why is because meaning fundamentally just resolves or comes down to just things that make us happy. Humans are creatures that intrinsically care about pleasure and pain. And while a lot of people, you know who I'm talking about, end up taking that statement and making it something that it doesn't mean, we do in some way, shape, or form all care about increasing pleasure. So if we prove that friendships make you more happy, then it's a sufficient enough reason for you to vote negative. Contention 1. Your friends are your training ground. You develop a ton of skills from interactions with friends that you can't with family. Here's a list of benefits according to Dr. Susan Krause-Whitborn, professor at Amherst. Friendships teach you socialization from a young age, help your relationships later down the line, sharpen your mind, make you generally happier, help you know yourself better, challenge you to grow, make you less lonely, and check you on your mistakes. These are just the start to the reasons why friendships make you happier and make life more meaningful. As social creatures, friendship is definitionally a necessity for meaning because meaning is not internal but shaped entirely by external relations. Everyone that has cared about something in some point in time only cares about that thing because someone else or something else has influenced you to care about it. Even you with your Mamba mentality. Now, everything is based on value with someone else, which is why it's crucial for world perception. And even the worst concepts related to friendship are still good. One example is conditional love. Amit says that your friends will not take a bullet for you. Probably not. Actually, Amit's family won't take a bullet for him either. There are family members in this room that were laughing at him when he said that. But more importantly, the viewpoint of conditional love, the fact that your friends won't do everything for you, is a training that teaches you about society generally. In society generally, people will not do everything for you, and most friendships end because people don't feel they're getting enough out of it as much as they're putting in, which means that it teaches you about having to give and take, which is an important lesson for life generally, and an important lesson to get success. Second is envy. Chances are that your most genuine friends, not the ones that you meet on Facebook or LinkedIn, but the ones that you grew up with or care about deeply, come from the same social location as you. So if and when your friends are progressing at a rapid rate, it inspires you to progress and shows you that it is possible to achieve from your social location, which means that they're better. And when they're not, that's not a function of whether or not friendship is good or bad, but a function of whether or not you've chosen the right friends. I will admit, like Amit said, some friends are bad, but that's not a reason friendship is bad. That just means you need better friends. Contention 2, they scientifically improve your life. According to several studies, most notably a Harvard medical study, friendship can extend life expectancy and lower the chances of heart disease. And this should be extremely obvious. On balance, social interactions are actually good for stress relief. On top of that, there's just an evolutionary purpose for friendship. Dr. Lauren Brent explains that non-familial units are meant to produce safety from threats. We have evolved and traded the defensive necessity for active support networks, which help us feel great. Now, onto Amit's arguments. We'll talk about all of this family stuff because he has conceded that social interaction is important. He just says that family is a better way to do it. One, our conditional love standard already kind of takes this out. It says that it's important for us to have networks outside of just our family. Most people's family networks also are not big enough. Second, and this is particularly important, is a lot of people are ostracized from family. Amit makes an assumption that family just automatically loves you or that people don't have strains, which is extremely problematic, especially for people that come from broken homes or people that come from homes where they might have a situation where like their parents don't care about them or their parents feel deeply about some of their lifestyle choices. Another example is another argument Amit makes is that you need to cut off all the losers. No, you don't. You don't need to cut off everyone. In some ways, having the losers as a measuring stick is really good. It's important to keep certain connections close, even if they're not directly benefiting you or are not directly inspiring you to do good. Amit wants you to think about life solely in productivity. The rest of this stuff is pure nonsense. All of Amit's arguments are about why you hate yourself or about why your life is miserable, etc., etc. And if any of these statements are true, it's only a reason why you should care more about your friends. In understanding that there are social interactions is important for not hating yourself. He says that we look for other people so we don't hate ourselves. Absolutely. Even if Amit is right that you might hate yourself in the interim, having friends that are able to build up your self-esteem is valuable. And I don't know why that's such a problem for anyone.
Let's talk about a couple of these arguments. I want to talk about this idea of meaning. You say it's shaped by external reasons. Can you explain more about how it's shaped by external reasons?
Okay, what are the most meaningful things to you?
I mean, why does that matter?
Because that's important for the answer to this question.
Like, my family is meaningful. My pursuit of my dreams are meaningful. Like, I'm not going to say...
Okay, what dreams do you have?
Are that meaningful.
What dreams do you have?
To become a successful entrepreneur.
Who shaped that dream?
Kobe to some extent. Like, I don't understand.
Cool. There's your answer.
That Kobe's not my friend. He's an inspiration.
That's by no means the point. The point here was just to say that all meaning is shaped by external factors.
But I'm asking...
You just took the most meaningful thing in your life and said, Kobe made me want this.
Okay, you didn't really understand the question. How is external reasoning or external reasons have a correlation with friendship?
Because the argument is that your friends are external actors that positively...
Wait, so just because your friends are external, external is meaning, that's why your friends are meaningful?
No, it's not. It's obviously not that. It's just that your friends are external actors. We've made a bunch of arguments about why those external actors are good, but have said that we should think about meaning in the context of how other people influence you.
So is internal meaning more important or external meaning?
Internal meaning's not a thing.
So the idea that you construct a reality for yourself internally,
you don't construct it for yourself. It doesn't exist. It's always constructed based on someone else. So you're going to
get away with saying that everything that shapes your life is external, and because friends are a part of that external, that's why it's important.
It's not that they're a part of that external. It's that they're a good contribution because there's
a lot of external things that aren't friends.
We read a whole series of reasons why your friends were generally good. This is just our definition for meaning, so you don't cheat later and say, but people have intrinsic meaning and they have dreams and goals and they chase them. This whole thing about doing that effectively.
Conditional love is important, and it needs to be conditional to learn about the real world. What's the link between that and real world skills?
Because in the real world, things like school, wages, everything you do is based on conditions. Your friends are a good training ground because they force you to put something in to get something out.
Wouldn't a better training ground not having to be relying on a bunch of other people and relying on yourself for your own purpose?
Even you said that's impossible in your first speech. You were like to succeed, you're always going to need
this is
someone
about
else.
Specifically friends, because I think you can learn about the real world conditions argument you're talking about from a lot of other things outside of friends. But isn't there a trade-off with trusting so much in other people versus trusting in yourself to learn more real world skills?
I don't know what that means because you are influenced by other people. Essentially,
but
my argument
here... Why are those
here,
your friends? Like, that's the point that I'm trying to make.
Yes, my argument here is that the reason why it is good that it's your friends because it'd be a lot better to trust your friends than to trust your enemies.
What is the argument for why your family doesn't directly benefit you?
Did I say your family?
You said there's networks outside of your family. It doesn't.
Yeah, I said there are networks that might be more beneficial outside of your family. An example is this conditional love thing. You made an argument that your mom loves you so unconditionally she'd take a bullet for you. I don't know about that, but
so you think your parents wouldn't die for you?
I mean, that's not the point of this. The point of this is saying that when those people trust you, when those people love you so...
Wait, that is the point. You think your African parents and my Indian parents that literally gave up their entire world for us wouldn't die for us?
I don't know what...
You'd think a friend would rather do that.
That's not what I said.
But that argument matters because if those people seem to mean...
Those
people seem to mean a lot more than friends.
My point is that the fact that they love you unconditionally means that they cannot teach you the skills that you need based on conditional love.
Okay, but friends can. All right.
Yes, because they love you conditionally.
All right. Let's take a break from the debate and talk about this. How do you feel about this debate, David?
I'm having a lot of fun, but you were really, really depressing generally. It was pretty tough giving that speech and not being like, dude, I just don't want to hurt his feelings anymore.
Yeah, my beginning speech. So for everyone listening, I obviously fundamentally disagree with myself. I'm doing this for the debate because that's the point of a debate. I honestly believe that social isolation is horrible for you and friendship is necessary. But I think to make this argument, you have to come from a perspective of classifying people as losers, quote unquote, so that it makes you feel like you're more important than them in order for this argument to make sense. Which you have to be great, I think. But I think you also have to so you don't get depressed when you don't have those meaningful relationships that you're talking about.
That's weird, though. So this is an interesting thing, right? So I'm with you, right? I think that a really good argument is just that there are very few people that have access to people that are both meaningful and good.
Right.
Like I feel like to a certain degree that's like a little hump in this debate. Is just the concept of friendship is always better than the like, you know, process a lot of times, because the concept of friendship is really ideal, right? Like the ride or die friend, or like the person that will always be there to motivate you, is really ideal. I figured that was going to be a thing, and then I just wrote a whole section that was like, even when you don't have ideal friends, non-ideal friends are still good.
Right.
But I think that fundamentally you're correct that if it is true that like we need to do certain things, that sometimes we need to like cut off certain people that might not be beneficial. I don't know if they're all losers. That was a little harsh, but I guess.
And I feel like I can't get away without saying that, at least for me, honestly, in this personal experience, a lot of those kids that were just trying to get me to do random stuff after school were losers. Like, if you look back on, if you look in the future about their life. But, and most times, friends are not losers, man. Friends are so important, and they help you not be a loser, right? Because you have actual experiences and interactions with other people, which is a super important skill in life. Which I'm gonna have a hard time answering your first contention, but like I think you kind of turn mental health basically.
Yeah, just like if your friends calm your social, like if they calm stress, then they've got to be better for your mental health than like what the anxiety of not having. I also think like I didn't want to make this argument just because I didn't have evidence for it, but like I don't really know people that don't have friends. I know people that don't have good friends, but I don't think I know anyone that doesn't have friends, because if I know them and they don't have friends, I'm probably their friend.
Yeah, to some extent. It's hard to find someone with zero friends.
That was a South Park episode. You have 0 friends, and then this random kid got like 1 million friends because somebody gave up their Facebook account or something like that.
I think people say a lot like, "Oh, I don't have any friends," because they don't actually think the people around them are friends.
Yo, that's a good point. You know who the people that say that? Rich people. They're always like, "I don't have real friends." Because everyone is just... I always have to look out for whether or not somebody wants something from me.
But they're rich. Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
They probably got there by cutting a lot of people off, and then when they got there, everyone wants to be on because of their money.
Well, apparently Bezos didn't cut somebody off until he got rich. And the divorce, you get...
Oh, yeah. That's what I thought you were talking about. Yeah, this is a very interesting debate. I think it's a philosophical question for a lot of people who are growing up as teenagers or in their 20s right now, because this is the time where I think you establish friendships that can stand the test of time. Like you and me, I think 5-6 years from now are still going to be friends.
Yeah.
But there's definitely some people I know right now that we are absolutely... And I just graduated college, and I probably have 5 friends out of all the people I interact with. 5 friends that I actually think I will talk to 5 years from now, which proves to you how important those 5 relationships are, because that's a very small amount of people. But the quality of those being important is necessary.
Yeah.
Considering
I'm probably at like 12-ish right now, and I think that's probably going to go down.
Yeah, man. To say you have 10 real friends, I feel like that's hard.
Yeah.
Like real people who would.
I have 12. They're candidates, and I think I'll be. Yeah. It's almost like a job application. It's like, be my friend for life.
Yeah, I feel like most people serve you in different ways. Like I think a lot of people I know have like maybe 1 or 2 actual friends, and everyone else that they say are like friends for specific moments.
Yeah.
Like friends to go to the gym with.
They're my drinking buddy.
Right. Like those
right.
Are
that's not really your friend.
But they're still your friends. They're just different forms of relationships.
Yeah. Oh, quick question.
Yes.
What did you think about my attempt to speak French?
So what did you say?
Como sortir de la friend zone.
That was the name of the show?
Yeah, it was.
It actually wasn't that
episode.
bad. I was just so confused. Like, why is he saying this? Like, what is the point of this?
Yes, it was about friendship and like genuine friends versus fake friends, etc., etc.
But okay, so that wasn't like a dating show.
No. It was.
That's what I thought it was.
It was like one of those weird. It's not sketch comedy, because it's not like. it's weird. It's like this matrixy kind of show where they just do like logic stuff a lot.
Okay, interesting.
The guy's
All right.
dope. I'll show you afterwards, if I'm not a loser.
If you're still my friend.
I'm still your friend after this. We'll watch that video.
All right, let's get back to the debate. In the last speech, we told you that you live alone and you die alone. And David said, but friends are good. The problem is your friends aren't with you when you die. And this is a question and this is a debate about if your life can become more meaningful without your friends. The way we get to more meaning is by recognizing that because you're alone for the majority of your life, you need to learn how to enjoy being alone. And the problem with David's speech is he did not articulate why being alone is worse or why learning how to be alone is worse than having more friends. And if we show that friends aren't key to social interaction, then we just win this debate. Couple of things I'm going to talk about on David's case, and then I'm going to get to my case. First, on his framing argument. He says that meaning is shaped by external reasons, and that's how we get to some type of purpose or happiness in life. We'll concede this to some extent. Most things in the external world shape the way we try to shape the way we try to formulate or find meaning in the world. The problem is there is no correlation in this argument with friendship. Just because your friends are in the external world, because everything's in the external world other than your own thoughts, doesn't mean that shapes your purpose and meaning. He has to specifically indicate why friends in the external world somehow help the purpose or meaning you get in your life. Our argument is that meaning is shaped by external reasons, but it's also shaped by the internal thoughts and beliefs and dreams that you have with your own life. Those things cannot be shaped by friends, and friends are more detrimental to those things in the first place. A couple of his main arguments. First, he says you get to sharpen your minds, you get social skills, you can check on mistakes from his professor from Amherst University. You can group all of these benefits to friends because they aren't actually benefits to friends. These things can be accessed just by having social interaction. The study that we cited in the last speech simply said that social interaction is necessary for human beings because we're social creatures, not that it creates more meaning and purpose. So if you're in kindergarten and you're in the sandbox and you have to learn how to sharpen your skills and learn how to talk to other people, those are not your truest friends or your best friends. Those are moments of social interaction that do enhance your ability to be a better human being. So we can access all of the impacts that David's going for in this first contention just by saying you get that not from true friendship, but from regular social interaction, which means he doesn't have a unique correlation, again, with why friends are necessary to get there. His second argument says that conditional love is important, and because your friends attach conditions on you, that's important for the real world. Couple responses. One, the real world can be better accessed in terms of skills to survive in it by learning how to be alone, because most of the time, you're going to get the door shut in your face. You're going to get rejected. Friends, yes, they have some conditions, but learning how to be alone and be okay with being alone, being okay with learning how to talk to yourself, being okay with dealing with rejection doesn't necessarily come from friends. Yes, you may not succeed on some conditions, but most of that, in terms of real world skills, if that's the impact he's going for, comes from learning how to be alone and enjoying being alone so that when you do get rejected, you're able to deal with it because you've already been alone. His final argument about extending life expectancy is just insane. You can have your own purpose, focus on your family, focus on being great, which can also extend your life expectancy. Just because you don't have friends doesn't mean that you're going to die earlier. Couple arguments on our case. We're going to go for our two main arguments. One is that you need to have a family to mainly focus on. Focusing on your family is the most important thing. David says there's networks outside of your family, and yeah, those things are important, but at the end of the day, your family are the people who are going to take bullets for you. Your family are the people who are going to die for you, not your friends, which means even if you don't directly benefit from them, at the end of the day, focusing on friendship trades off with focusing on familial relationships that you should prioritize more because those are the people that actually care about you. Our second argument was that greatness comes from isolation. There was no response in the last speech for why you can have mediocre social interactions that add nothing to your life and how that can somehow improve the ability for you to follow your dreams or reach an ambition. We're not saying everyone has to be ambitious, but some of the most happiest people in the world are the ones who had an idea and made it real. And that means you need to spend 18 hours in the gym because the people who are not spending 18 hours in the gym, the people who are going out to the bars and partying, are not winning championships. And that is one of the main impacts in this debate because this debate is about meaning. And the true friendships David's talking about, which is, by the way, 1.3% of most of your friendships, don't create and sustain that purpose and meaning for the rest of your life. Following your dreams, achieving an ambition, doing something meaningful with your life that you've created by yourself without friends, because you can't have friends when you're trying to do that because it trades off, is what creates meaning and purpose in your life. You need to be able to have a bond with yourself. Again, friends won't take a bullet for you, but your family will, and you can be great by yourself, which is why it's important. Final argument, mental health. Our studies cited that a lot of people feel depressed because they feel like they aren't able to have social interactions or they're introverted. We need to change the sociocultural belief about anxiety and depression based upon a lack of social interaction by changing the conversation and recognizing that your mental health can benefit from learning how to be alone and enjoy being alone. And that a lot of the mediocre, again, social relationships aren't adding value to you being alive because you're going to die by yourself. So when you die by yourself, you need to learn how to live a life by yourself and not be depressed for the fact that you don't have friends.
So let's talk about this depression argument for a second.
Yeah.
Your argument is we can solve depression through isolation. How?
Okay, not that we solve depression, but rather that people who feel sad about their lives because they're not social butterflies should but not feel sad because it's actually an advantage to not have to deal with
They should just not feel sad.
Well, they should not use the lack of friends as a reason for why they're sad, which is their whole psychology argument that we talked about. Our argument is learning to be by yourself makes you more happier about your life because most people don't have friends.
So then my next question is, how do we do that? How do we just suddenly learn to be by ourselves? Given that you've said that we're social creatures, that both of us have conceded that, how do we just learn to be by ourselves?
Well, I think it's an internal struggle that we all have to go through, but by recognizing that we barely have any friends, some of them are meaningful, most of them are not, and pivoting the way we think about friendship. Like, I personally am not worried about having that many friends over the next couple of years. I'm focused on like doing what I want to do with my life, and if friends trade off with that, I can do that cost benefit analysis and make a better decision.
Okay, that doesn't seem like it makes much sense or answers my question, but whatever. Let's talk about this thing about your friends not going to take a bullet for you. I guess I'm still confused about why the fact that they wouldn't take a bullet for you means that they're meaningless.
Because that means that most of those friendships, at the end of the day, taking a bullet is a metaphor for it. They're probably not going to do that many important things for you, but your family relationships will.
Yeah, okay, so...
Which means you should focus on those.
All right, fine. Then let's just cut to the chase and talk about the trade-off then.
Yes.
What is the trade-off between caring about your friends and focusing on your family?
Getting wasted, like, on a Friday night.
Not everyone does that with their friends. Just because you had horrible friends.
Most people in their 20s and most people, if you have friends, you're just trying to get wasted with your friends.
No.
So what are you else trying to do with your friends?
Who is just saying this? Where is this data coming from?
What else do people do with their friends other than go out, have a good time? Like,
yes, they hang out with their friends. That doesn't mean they're wasting their lives in bars every day.
I agree. My point is, usually with your friends, it's a good time. Our argument is that good time should be with your family.
All right, so
because your friends aren't forever.
So
maybe 1% of them.
My question is, why can't you have a good time with your friends and your family?
So there is a trade-off. Our argument is, if you're hanging out with one, you're not hanging out with the other. If I'm on the phone with my friends, I'm not calling my cousin in India, which I probably should be calling because that's a more meaningful relationship than friends who I won't remember 5 years from now.
Last thing, let's talk about this greatness from isolation thing. Why is it true that isolation is necessary for greatness?
So our argument is when you try to do something super meaningful, you have to cut off not everyone in your life, but a majority of people that are taking up space. Because it is hard to be in the gym for 18 hours when you're going to the restaurant.
So your argument is that, like, because Kobe was alone, that means
Kobe is one example of a ton of people who have...
Like who? Like what?
I mean, well, there's, like, athletes, champions, artists. I mean, there's I'm not going to name all the athletes.
What athletes don't have friends? You were like Kobe.
No, now they have friends when they've achieved greatness. But in the beginning, there was like no.
So they had no friends.
They had some friends, but they had to cut off a majority of social interactions, which is our point. And their life became more meaningful because they chased their dream.
Where is this coming from? You're just asserting these things. You're just saying that people had no friends because they're successful.
No, David. When you are spending 18 hours a day, like Kobe said, in the gym, you don't have friends. And 6 hours of sleeping. You have family. You have a wife and kids who support you. That's it. You don't have time to have that much fun with friends. Our argument is trying to have that much fun with friends makes your life less fun because you don't focus on your ambitions.
All right, whatever. The only thing to remember here is that your life gets meaning based on your relationships with other people, not solely your perception or some objective good. It's about how you relate to others, and your friends teach you how to relate positively. That's why your friends have meaning. It's not just that meaning is external, but that your friends are a good external source that helps your life become more happy and by extension more meaningful. Amit does not have a response to this. His response is, well, your happiness doesn't matter because your life is miserable, or your happiness doesn't matter because you need to make your life less miserable by being in the gym 18 hours a day. These are extreme situations, none of which amount to saying that friendship is a bad thing. For example, let's talk about this being in the gym for 18 hours a day thing. He says that Kobe was in the gym for 18 hours and your friends who aren't in the gym for 18 hours are not winning an NBA championship. Guess what? You're not winning an NBA championship either. You're not talking to Kobe or anybody like that. You're talking to regular people who need friends in order to produce active support networks for them. An argument that Amit has conceded. Your friends make it so that when you face the pressure of not making an NBA salary or not winning a championship, you don't feel as though your life is terrible. Amit's best argument here is about mental depression and the idea that we need to be able to deal with being alone. One is you don't, because you're rarely ever alone, even if your friendships are not entirely meaningful. Yes, you're not always going to be in meaningful friendships, but we've made a series of arguments about why even friendships that are meaningless for a time are still good. You should not put your entire life into meaningless friendships, but it's definitely good to have somebody that you can call every once in a while to go to the bar with, and I don't know why that's so terrible in this context. Amit says we can solve depression through isolation. That's obviously ridiculous. Isolation makes people net worse in this context, and he says that it's about being able to be prepared. We'll deal with all of that stuff at the top. This greatness creates isolation thing. He's obviously lying in this context because it doesn't require isolation in order for you to be great. In fact, it requires other people, and greatness comes with tons of pitfalls and tons of downs, and you need people to be there to help you get picked up, because nobody's just pulling themselves up by their bootstraps. And if that's Amit's argument, it's a terrible one, and it's the way that we tell tons of people that they're worthless because they didn't do enough. The last thing that Amit says, that your friends are not going to take a bullet for you. Yes, your friends are not going to take a bullet for you, but one, there's not a trade-off. It's possible to care about your family and have friends at the same time. If you want to talk about basketball players, we can talk about how some of the best basketball players seem to have a ton of friends and still engage in meaningful relationships with their family, like LeBron and Steph Curry. But I don't know why that point's even important. Second, you've conceded that not every family is like yours. Not everyone has a good relationship with their family, which means that your assertion that your family is what really matters and that blood is what creates genuine connection is not only wrong, but is particularly insulting to people that do not come from those same locations. And you should be ashamed of yourself, and your mom should be ashamed of you, and your sister should be ashamed of you for the way that you tell other people, or the way that you speak to other people about their lives. Next, Amit says that you need to be able to bond with yourself. Now, I'm not going to speculate what you mean by bond with yourself, but it doesn't matter in this context. It's possible for people to understand they have self-worth, and we've made arguments about why friendships create more self-worth. Lastly, Amit says that you need to be prepared because your friends are not going to be with you when you die. First of all, nobody's with you when you die. But second of all is you don't have to get ready to die. This is not a Biggie album. It's possible for all of us to be able to live good lives with our friends and die in the knowledge that we've lived a good life. It does not matter. Amit does not have a single impact to anything he said, but he has both made a bunch of repulsive statements and ignored the fact that there are real consequences when you cut off your friends, because your life ends up being significantly less happy, and that's the true definition of meaning, because meaning outside of that is pointless, useless, and has no meaning.
Okay, let's talk about this. You have a couple interesting lines I want to talk about. You say you can.
I always have interesting lines.
You can hit up a friend once in a while to go to a bar. How is this person a friend?
Because.
Why is this not your bar acquaintance?
Because who just calls?
How many people
do you have saved in your phone as bar acquaintance?
David, I went to the bar with a bunch of people before that are not my friends, and this is me being honest. I'm not just saying this for the argument.
Yeah, I mean, I know
a bunch of people do that.
Sure.
So why is this person your friend?
I mean, I think that it's a type of friendship. It might not be meaningful or deep, but it's a type of friendship.
This debate is about if your friendships give you meaning.
Well,
if it's not meaningful, how does it give you meaning?
No, we've said that even meaningless friendships can still produce meaning. The friendship might not be meaningful, but because that makes you happier.
Wait, explain that. How do meaningless friendships, if they're not meaningful, produce meaning in your life?
In the same way that, like, meaningful relationships can do things like tell you what you don't like in people, et cetera, et cetera.
How does that give you happiness or, like, purpose?
Because then you figure out what you don't like, and then you can pursue things that you do like.
So your argument is we should have bar buddies and, like, acquaintances to find purpose in life. Not true friends.
No. Our argument is that there's not a trade-off. You can both have some friends that are meaningless and some friends that are extremely meaningful. My argument is, even if you win the best version of your argument, which is that you rarely find meaningful friends, it's still possible for you to become happier as a result of engaging once in a while with meaningless friends. And we've said that.
But David, I would also argue that it's okay to go to the bar sometimes with people. I feel like that's not this debate.
Oh, I understand.
Because you can go to the bar sometimes and still be great. So my point is, like,
Yeah.
I feel like you have to defend friendships that are actually sustaining and value producing.
Yeah.
So how does this bar acquaintance do anything?
No, because your argument was that you're always going to waste your life. This was a preempt to your argument that you're just going to waste your life with a bunch of people only going to the bar. And I'm just like, that's just not true.
Okay, let's talk about the basketball example. You say it's too
Yeah.
extreme because you're not going to win a championship. So let me explain the argument and then I'll let you ask the question. Kobe won
This is cross-ex. Ask questions.
Right, so let me explain the argument.
This is not an extra speech.
Let me set up the question.
This is not an extra
Kobe
speech.
won a championship because of the trade-off. I think we can both agree of some level of isolation. And that pursuit...
As well as being an
Real
absolutely
quick,
genetic freak, but sure, we'll ignore that part.
That pursuit of purpose created a lot of meaning in his life. Would it have been better if the trade-off was so substantial that he didn't win a championship and not have that purposeful meaning? As in, if you go on a journey to try to do something meaningful with your life, ambitious, win a championship, and you have to trade off with friends, your argument is just because everyone doesn't win at the highest of levels.
I don't think it's a trade-off. Question: How is there not a trade-off? How much of Kobe's? First of all, your argument assumes that Kobe had no friends, which you just don't have evidence for.
There are multiple interviews where he's like, "I've given up a lot of things." When you're in the gym for 18 hours, you have no friends, David. You have acquaintances. You have yourself.
Second,
my point is, why isn't that journey more meaningful than the friends who will help you if you don't win the championship?
Because there are situations where you work that hard. And question: is your argument that Kobe's the only hard worker in the league?
No.
Okay, so what about the hard workers in the league that never win a championship? What about your Charles Barkley?
Maybe they had too many friends. Maybe they were gambling.
So
your argument
is Charles Barkley had so many friends that he was a loser?
No, my argument is that there's a level of isolation.
You heard him, Charles?
Charles, I love you. There's a level of isolation you have to get to be that great, and maybe some people in the NBA or sports don't get there because they have too many friends. They're partying in Miami.
So your argument is that people's friends are the reasons they don't win NBA championships, not that NBA championships are notoriously different. That almost disrespects Kobe and says that, like... That's super disrespectful.
People who are friends as a metaphor of doing other stuff, partying way too much. Yes, that's absolutely a reason why.
But that's not all your friends do. Like, in order to win this argument, you have to win that friends only are people to drink and smoke with.
I feel like you have not given a reason for why having friends helps you on the pursuit of greatness.
Of course you don't think I've given a reason.
Well, so what is the reason? We're out of time, but what is the one reason for why friends help you on the pursuit of greatness and don't trade off?
Because a ton of the time what friends end up doing is they end up inspiring you to be able to be better. They end up checking you when you're not living up to your potential.
It seems like your only argument was
Even Kendrick was like that.
If you fail, they're here to catch you, but you have no argument for why they actually help you on the climb.
Well, they
inspire you, really?
A ton of your friends inspire you.
Getting drunk with your friends inspires you.
Not all friends are people to get drunk with.
Going on a hike with your friends inspires you.
A ton of the time, you can do great things with your friends that seem mundane but are still valuable.
It seems like if you're going to do something great, you didn't need inspiration from a hike. But all right, let's take a break from the debate and analyze this. This debate is getting a little heated.
I'm sweating. I'm sweating for the first time.
Yeah, I mean, like, obviously I think you have a point. I do think I have a counterpoint, but again, I agree. Like, friends are super important and meaningful. And it's really hard for me to win this argument that if you want to be great, you have to cut off everybody. Which I do believe to some extent because I've had a personal experience with it. But, like, you don't got to cut off everybody.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know. I feel like
Kobe had some friends. Like,
you know what's wild? The weird thing that I never answered, because I was just like, I don't know what the answer to this is. I was just like, I'll just beat the horse on this, like, friendship is good for you thing.
Yeah.
Is this argument about, like skill development. Right? I think that you're just right that there's a ton of things.
I think you kind of dropped that argument, right?
Yeah, because I was like, I don't have a response to you can develop skills elsewhere, but, like, I do have a response to, like, you're significantly less, like, fulfilled when you do.
Yeah, so I'm trying to access a lot of your impacts. This, based on saying that, and this is what because the article I read this morning was actually really good. The whole professor was just like, bro, you can do anything you want with social interactions. You don't need to have friends. Because he's a professor who works with clients by telling them that it's okay they don't have friends. So his whole argument is like, you can be social. They don't have to be your friends. You don't have to feel bad about that. So I'm trying to be like, you can get sharpening skills without having to always have true friendships.
And I guess my thing was, I was like, if you're gonna lean into that, then I'll lean into even if it's not true friendships, meaningless friendships can still be good for you, and then lean very much into meaning is non-existent, and it's just an extension of how we think about happiness.
Which is very strategic framing that you've done, because I've been trying to, like, crack this thing, but at the end of the day, you're like, if it makes you happy, it's meaningful, and I'm like, That's true. And a lot of external things make you happy. Pretty much everything externally makes you happy.
Yep.
This extending of life expectancy, you definitely did not go for this argument.
I was going to talk a little bit about the heart disease portion of it. I talked about stress relief a little bit.
Yeah.
But
I think we both focused on like mental health kind of.
Yeah, I think like obviously like the crux of this is the mental health side. Also, I'm surprised that you didn't just be like, what is this? What does any of this mean? Because essentially it was just the study was just like your chances are lower.
I knew the study was BS. Like that's why I didn't spend time on it. Because I was like, but even if it wasn't BS, I'm like, friends can't just make you not die long. I mean, they could, but it's not the only thing. So
they could save you if you are in a situation where you might die. This is something that I found that I thought was very interesting that I was taking note of during your speech. So you were talking about needing to focus on your family and spend a ton of time on your family. Then your phone rang. It was your mom. I saw mom heart, and you ignored it completely. While you were talking about how much we need to focus on our family, you completely ignored your mom.
The timer went away. I'm like, how much time do I have? Why is mom calling me? I'm like, because I wasn't going to stop the speech to pick up the phone.
You completely ignored
I'm in my zone, bro.
I agree with you. It was hilarious timing because of what you were saying. I was like,
yo, I'm trying to give a speech.
I was like, did he just hang up on his mom?
And that kind of leads into this family argument that I have no idea how to respond to, because like David's just right. Like some people have a really crappy family and they literally need other people to like interact with because their family is so bad.
Yeah.
So you kind of really went hard on this. Like, it is insulting. I'm like, yeah, it is pretty insulting.
I'm definitely going. I'm getting the world far away from your side.
Honestly, I don't know how you would come up with that, because it's like friends are your family. Like,
I thought you were going to use that rhetoric at one point.
Yeah.
I did.
Well, you kind of said the bonds are too big.
Yeah, in the beginning, I was just like, how do so the way that I think about this is, and I think I've been doing like a decent job at it. I just think about all the things that might be useful, and I just throw all of them in a sequence. And if they become less useful, I don't really say them anymore. But
yeah, I think you preempted it pretty well. This MBA thing, I'm trying to make the argument that the pursuit of greatness means there's a trade-off, and you're not letting me get away with the fact that one, most people won't succeed at that level, and two, there is no trade-off, which I kind of agree with on most cases.
Yep. And apparently, while you agree with me, you also hate Charles Barkley.
Charles be talking out. So if he's watching this, first of all, that's going to be amazing for the podcast. But he would definitely call me out on national television.
I would love to.
That would be amazing.
Could you imagine if Charles Barkley
call me out, bro?
If Charles Barkley was like this Amit guy
on this other side podcast, said that I have no purpose because I had too many parties.
It was also like you can't be like, oh, he just had friends. No, he had a dude named Michael Jordan in the way.
Yeah, but that was one season. Yeah, because he only got to the finals once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hakeem too.
Well, let's see what I can come up with in prep time, and let's get back to the debate. In the last speech, David said, your life gets meaning from other people. I have never disagreed with this statement. I have only disagreed with the fact that friendship doesn't give it more meaning. So all the things David talked about in that last speech about how social interaction is important, about how you can go to the bar with some friends some days, yeah, we can defend that as well on this side. You can do all those things because those people are not friends. Those are acquaintances and minute social reactions that don't add up to the true friendship that David said sharpens your social skills and all the other stuff he talked about in the beginning of this debate. At the end, all we have to win is a couple of arguments for why having less friends provides more meaningful things in your life because you focus on other things. We're going to say that focusing on your family, focusing on the fact that you're not constantly worried about having friends, and focusing on your actual ambitions is the most important thing in this debate. Let's talk about a couple things that were said in the last speech. First, on this Kobe argument. Look, let me clear this up. Our argument is that for Kobe Bryant or anyone like him who did something insane and amazing, it took a lot of sacrifice to get there. Sacrificed a lot of things. One of those things was friends. And the reason why one of those things was friends is because friends means you have to worry about other people's emotions. You have to worry about keeping up with them. You have to worry about all the stuff I mentioned in the past two speeches. That is toxic and draining, especially if you're on a path to do something amazing. That doesn't mean that you're constantly alone. That does mean that you have to forego some meaningful friendships. David's argument was like, yeah, but if you fail on that journey, your friends will pick you up. Couple responses to this. One, this is a bad argument. Your family is most likely going to be there. But second of all, the pursuit still matters. Even if you don't win the NBA championship, it is more meaningful, which remember, that's what this debate is about, if it's meaningful or not. to have less friends and go on that journey. You cannot tell me that going 18 hours in the gym in the pursuit of trying to be great and maybe not getting to the stars but landing on the moon is not better than, oh, you're with some of your friends partying for 18 hours a day, or not 18 hours a day, but for a majority of your time, and not focusing on the thing that can provide you actual meaning, which is your ambition. Our argument is not everyone has to be great, but everyone should at least try to do something with their lives, and friends takes away from that. This whole thing about you can go to the bar once in a while, this is not a friend, this is just an acquaintance. This argument that your family isn't amazing and they won't always take a bullet for you, yes, for some cases, but for other cases, your family is amazing, which means this argument is just a wash. Some people don't have great families, some people do. This final argument, he says, is that this is about meaning, and no one's going to be with you when you die, so before you die, you should have meaningful relationships with friends. Again, you have to create your own meaning and purpose in life. Unless your friends are just awesome and they're the best friends ever, and they're going to sustain your happiness for the majority of your life. By the way, they won't do that because most people don't have friends that are that amazing that are going to do that. That means that you have to look to something else to provide purpose. That's either your ambition, that's either your family, or that's either not feeling upset every day or depressed because you're not that social and you don't have that many friends, or you don't have the most amazing of friends. Being by yourself is a skill. Being alone and not lonely is a skill. Friends trade off with that, which is why you shouldn't worry about having friends.
Amit still has not answered the central point here, which is that your friends, whether they are meaningless or meaningful, end up producing happiness, which is the true definition of meaning. If there's not a response to that, then the only question you have to answer is your life made substantially happier by having your friends, or by throwing them away, not for success, but for the potential of an NBA championship? Keep in mind, the average height of you people is 5'9", so good luck even making the league. Let's talk about Amit's best arguments in this context. First, he says that you have to be able to create your own meaning. This is the closest that Amit gets to an actual response to this. But one, if he has conceded that your meaning is happiness, all he said is that you have to be able to create your own happiness. And two, he has then said that your life is miserable and that there is absolutely nothing you can do to change this except struggle and struggle for a different life. I think the only thing that last speech made clear is that Amit's bachelor party is going to be nothing but him watching self-help gurus on YouTube. There's not a single fun thing that Amit has said, or a single thing Amit said that's about happiness. His second argument is that it takes tons of sacrifice and that you have to be able to forego meaningful relationships. Amit seems hell-bent on saying that Kobe Bryant is somehow proof of a larger theory. First of all, Kobe's not. He had a very particular set of skills, including a damn near 35-inch vertical and a ridiculously, sculpted body. But second is that he also had friends. You're a liar. Michael Jordan gave a whole obituary speech that was literally about how Kobe used to call him at 2 a.m. in the morning. He didn't have to forego all of his friends. He created more meaningful connections, and Kobe has been on record saying that he would not be anywhere near what he was without Michael Jordan. So it seems as though your argument is not only wrong, but also bad, because you would then take away what made Kobe Kobe. But more importantly is that his life was made significantly happier in this context. And that's the only argument we need to win here. Your friends help make you happier because they help both lift you up and help you stay up in times that are tough. Amit just doesn't have a response to any of this. And your friends teach you how to deal with the struggle of the world, because a lot of the times you're not in the most optimal position. Everything Amit has said up to now is a lie or some sort of false rhetoric. For example, you should shoot for the stars and at least you'll land among the moon, or whatever he said, is worthless. First of all, it was a horrible place to deploy it. It sounded terrible, and you should be willing to reject them just for that. But second, and more importantly, is you're not shooting for the stars. You're digging your own grave. Amit is trying to prep you to die instead of teaching you how to live. Live your best life, whether that means that you're trying to create a meaningful friendship. That doesn't mean that you're going to be depressed. Most of the time, what ends up happening is that the chase for friends, or the possibility that you will find a friend, helps keep you up. Most people are not falling into depression because they have zero friends. You even admitted that in this context. It's just about whether or not that process is valuable, and the process of trying to find some friends is extremely useful. So go find some friends. Do not be Amit. Good debate.
This was
interesting.
I just love how by the end of the debate, I just love how there was so much passion and energy around like this whole thing about me preparing people to die. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, you're right. But I had to make some type of argument in this case for me to make sense.
Yeah. So I think you get... okay, so I think that we can all... like, we all have already, but I think we should reiterate again. I think that it's really important for us to just agree that it is really, really tough to, like, go on without having any friends.
Yeah.
And I also just think, like, straight up that it's really good for us to think about the friends that we do have. Like, one of the things that we don't really talk about here, but that I thought about when I was writing this case is I thought very, very deeply about who my real friends are.
Yep.
And it was really a soul-searching kind of event to write this case. And I want people at home to, like, think about who you think your real friends are. I don't even think you can make a judgment because I don't think you'll find out who your real friends are until later. But
no, I agree, man. Even writing this case for myself, and that's why I love writing these cases and doing this stuff, because like these questions are larger philosophical questions that we can niche down a little bit. But at the end of the day, there's a positive and negative side. Most people would agree you need friends to exist in your life. But the fact that we can construct these arguments as absurd as they sound, but still have some validity to it, is what makes this fun. And I think we can both agree you need friends, but there's some pushback of like, well, is there a trade-off with some friends?
Yeah.
Or is a bar buddy and actually a friend? Which is your point. Like, they're not.
I think
it's hard to figure out those people.
I thought that was really, really good. I was just like, oh man, because
yeah, I got you in context.
It's always
just a friend.
It's always weird when you get pigeonholed to have to defend things that are big. So this is another concept that just exists and that I've thought about in debate is, you want to defend something, but you don't want to defend everything.
Yep.
And in my mind, you kind of pushed me in a position where you were like, defend this larger thing that I can both prove doesn't happen often and is really, really tough to do.
And it's only because he used the example, right? If you didn't do this once in a while, this bar thing, as soon as he said that, I was like, this is not a friend. We're going to talk about that.
Yeah, I might have, I might have put myself in a rough spot. It's always weird when you have to try to spin out of your own mistakes.
Yeah, and I had to do that a bunch of times in this debate. There was one thing you didn't do in the last speech that your speech was really good, but I thought there was one thing you might go for that I basically BS'd in my last speech.
This conditional thing?
No.
I'm kidding.
So David's right, which is that like,
this family thing.
If you have a bad family, you need friends to become your family. And my argument, as soon as I said it, I knew it. I was like, some families are good, some families are bad. Next argument, because I have no answer to this argument. But I don't think your last speech kind of...
Yeah, my last speech wasn't really about this. And like, probably like a fallen mistake in this context. I'm trying to walk the fine line between making arguments that are solely about the topic and making arguments that are about the things we did here.
Right.
So... in an ideal and perfect world, I would just say you should just hate Amit. He's a horrible person because he tries to make people think that everyone's family is the same or holds everyone's to the same family standards he has.
Yep.
But I was just like, it's just a lot easier to be like, you're lying in every way, shape, and form. Those are moves like I have to make a decision.
What you said I'm lying. I don't think you cross-play to the family thing, but you kind of overarchingly said Amit is lying about this whole idea that you can't have any friends.
Yeah.
But this family thing, I think that's the best argument to be.
If you think of an argument against that?
I can't.
Because I can't.
And we're good debaters. Our producer is a pretty good debater. Like, I can't think of an argument against your family is screwed up. You need other friends that provides you meaning because of how screwed up it is. For me to be like, yeah, but you still don't need those friends even if your family is screwed up.
Yeah,
I don't know what the out is there.
I feel like maybe the best argument, if I can think of something that's remotely responsive, I think that you can make the argument that
other people will be bad. Those other people you search for.
Yeah, so I feel like the argument is that a lot of times what happens is that you're just trying to fill a hole, so you end up either being destructive to the friends that you have. So either you become a problem, i.e. the whole daddy issues thing, or you end up picking people that are a problem, and then.
So it would be better to be alone at that point. Is your argument?
Yeah, because you might literally put yourself in a self-destructive practice. It's the only thing I can remotely think of. And then another argument, which I don't think is persuasive, is that, and I think it's really unpersuasive when you think about certain people that have trouble with, like, family that, like, literally wants to disown or, like, kill them, is, like, the whole, like, work it out thing,
With your family?
Yeah, that your family is worth recuperating. But I was just like, that is so, like, could you imagine telling somebody whose parents want to kill them that, like, they should
That's why I didn't even say it.
Out.
I just tried to be like, some family's good, some family's bad. If you got a bad family, oh well. Like,
I was just like, you know what?
Argument.
I was like, I'll let that one go. It's I'm glad we caught that though.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just don't know what the response to that is, and it's a cheap win in this debate.
Yeah, and I think you already had so much other offense. But if you did vote for me, I would like to know why. I think
I would like to too. What? I'm kidding.
I think if you voted for me, I think you have to have gone. So we were talking about this in one of the breaks from the debates, but I should have made the argument that people on social media see other people having friends, and that creates this false perception of like, oh my God, I need to go to the bar, I need to go to the movies, I need to hang out and show the world, which causes the depression I'm trying to talk about. So I missed the link to the impact of depression. So because I didn't make that argument as strongly as I could, I had to go for this isolation is greatness thing, which I don't think is the best argument.
Yeah.
But I think if you voted for me, you would probably have voted on that argument. And I could see how you did, but you would have to really believe that Friends is horrible for you on a path of greatness.
You'd have to erase Michael Jordan.
Okay, hold on. Let's talk about this. This is not the best argument.
It's not.
Yeah, like just because he called him at 2 a.m. does not mean Michael Jordan was his best friend.
Well, Michael did say that he's never been closer, and that Kobe was a friend that he considered like a little brother. So
but I wonder how much of that was during the 97, 98, 99 season when Kobe was trying to be great and in the gym 18 hours. Like,
it doesn't matter when he did it; he called him.
No, I think it does because if he's best friends after the first couple of championships, I feel like that's different. Because then you've already achieved greatness, and you had to sacrifice friends at the time to get there.
Yeah, I mean,
but if he was significant in the process, and then you have an argument.
It was after that big All-Star game, like I think '96.
So then you're right.
Yeah. Well. At least if I'm remembering the documentary correctly, I remember that. I remember that's when they met. He was like, I'm gonna take Kobe. And then
were they talking at 2 a.m. during the time? I thought they were still kind of beefing like on the court with each other.
I mean, sort of, but that was just because Kobe was the young guy and Jordan was the old guy.
Yeah, but I'm saying, were they close friends at that point? Or was he kind of like...
I don't know. I'm just taking Jordan's words. Jordan was like...
I'm trying to get y'all to vote for me by disproving this example after the debate, basically.
Nope. Time's up.
But it also comes back to, like, then do you consider your mentors and people you look up to as your friends? Because it seems like Jordan was more so like a mentor to him.
Yeah, and I do. I think mentors are super, super important.
But also if they're contemporary peers. So, like, for example, let's say that, like... So I had when I was a freshman and I was debating, I had somebody that was 3 years older than me, which, if you're in debate, like high school debate, is basically a lifetime. It's a whole generation of debate, basically.
Yeah.
And I would consider that person both a friend and a mentor.
Yeah, a lot of people who have helped me have been friends and mentors.
Yeah, so I don't know if you consider your mentor your friend always, but there's definitely
depends what role they play as well. Yeah, because sometimes mentors have to like it's like a debate coach. I don't know if you would say they're necessarily a friend or a basketball coach.
Yeah,
because it's kind of weird for them to be in the friend territory as well. It crosses some lines.
Yeah, that's very odd.
Yeah, because you have to have a relationship where there's a different type of mutual respect. Friends is a very different type of mutual respect for each other.
For the people watching or like hearing this, I think the whole thing is about defining what is a friend or what makes a friend. So like what advice would you give to people?
You've got a friend in me.
Like what would you define as a friend?
Bro, honestly, I would define a friend as someone you don't have to constantly talk to, but when you do talk to them, it's like you were talking every day for the past 5 years. And I have a couple of those people. And those are friends. I don't think going out to the restaurant, I don't think going on a hike, I don't think these things define friendship. I think they are necessary to do with people you truly trust, but there has to be a super big authentic relationship with those people. So for example, I went to get sushi a couple of other days with one of my friends who's going to Oman. Shout out to Temi. And I went and drove 30 miles to go get sushi with her because I care about her and I'm going to miss her. And that's the friendship, not the sushi part.
But, a lot of people believe that you need to do that on a consistent basis.
I kind of agree with that, though, because if we don't hang out for a year, like...
Oh, wait,
that's what you have to be able to pick up, is my argument.
This is my super shallow definition. I think a friend is somebody where if they called me at 2 a.m. in the morning, I'd pick up. Yeah, I think that my super shallow definition is you're somebody that if you called me at 2 a.m. in the morning, I would pick up. And if I called you at 2 a.m. in the morning, you'd pick up. it's very, very strange for that to be a definition, but I think that a friend is somebody that, like, you genuinely care enough that you would be, I don't know if it's concerned, but there's something there that's
Definitely
just
concerned.
like, I mean, if you call me at 2 a.m. in the morning in any situation, I'm very concerned about why this is happening. But for some people, I see the call, I'm like, I'm frustrated, I'm not doing this, it's 2 a.m. and I roll over and go back to sleep. If you're a friend, I'm picking up.
I'm picking up, yeah. I'm helping you out.
There's a good, like I said,
maybe
12
that's
people
the
right
definition.
now.
Like, what you're willing to sacrifice for them.
Yeah, maybe.
Like,
this question does not have an answer, by the way. I just want people to know.
It's just
We are
how
not
we're
going
trying to define it.
We're not going to solve your friends.
Like, for example, one of my friends asked me to, like, borrow some money, and I gave it without a doubt, because I know he's good for it. And even if he paid me back, like, 6 months later, but I didn't care, because that's my friend. Like, if he needed $50, I got you, as long as I have the $50 to give him. And I think, like, that is the metaphor for a friend. Like, you're willing to have some self-sacrifice because they're your friend.
Well, because some people conflate the idea. Like, what you said back to the social media thing, they think that looking at people's stories and people hanging out with people equals them having more friends.
Yeah, most of those people hate each other.
Right.
Yeah.
I think there has to be a distinction between there are friendships and then there's social interactions. And those two things could be the same. You could have friends that you interact with, or those two things could be separate.
For sure.
Different.
All right.
So, just
something else go.
Yes, you did say something that I think is very, very interesting. You did say something very interesting about your friends. You were like, if my friends needed $50 or wanted $50, I would give it to them. Can I have $50? Is my question?
You were going with this. If you actually genuinely needed it, well, I would give you $50. But I don't have $50 anymore because during this debate, I got a notification from Robinhood, and let's just say, I'm not going to have $50 for a while. And that's how we'll end this podcast.
All right.
Let us know what you think. Do you need friends? And if you just lost a couple grand on Robinhood, would you still give your friend $50, even though you probably didn't have it?
I will not.
See you later.